My name is Hooda Hersi. I'm a public health education student at Otterbein University, and our research focuses on analyzing the impact of influence on bi or multiracial college students' behavior. For a little introduction, bi or multiracial college students are often neglected in research, and the number predicts that these individuals will double by 2050 to 2060. That being said, it's very important that we can have an idea of how bi or multiracial students self-identify and how that influences their behavior. Our previous research identified these three major components, which are genetics, environment, and culture and heritage, and they accounted for their behavior. So our research question is focusing on how legit this framework is by attempting to validate it, and we examine how these different aspects of their identity influence their decision making and their behavior. As of now, we have 49 current participants and 33 identified as female, 12 as male, and 4 as others. The largest portion of our participants were in their third and fourth year with a number of 14 for each grade, and then 31 self-identified as bi or multiracial, and then the others were monoracial. Procedure: we received a list of students who self-identified as bi or multiracial from RIB, and we used a flyer and we emailed them once a week for about a month to encourage participation, and we also used gift cards as incentives to participate. So in our survey, we had 5 scenarios. We also had 25 5-point Likert-type scales from strongly disagree to strongly agree. And we also asked 7 demographic questions. We had a mixed method designed for this research. For qualitative data, we will use thematic analysis to assess the themes. And then for quantitative data, we will use means, frequencies, and percentages. And then we'll also do EFA for framework analysis when data collection is complete. On to results. For scenario 1, this focuses on a family photo that a classmate sees and states that you don't look like one of your parents. We've seen that genetics was the most playing factor in this scenario as it influenced their behavior. And for the themes, we've seen a lot of students wanting to kind of explain their side of the story or kind of dismissed or ignored, and they also kind of laughed about it. Scenario 2 centers around college applications in the race category while having no option to identify as bi or multiracial. In this case, we've seen that genetics and culture and heritage were both the biggest playing role in this scenario as an influence. For the themes identified, we've seen a lot of students wanted to choose multiple options, and they either didn't want to respond or they filled in one option. Scenario 3 centers on bringing a friend home for the first time, and you are worried about cultural expectations and how they will behave. We've seen that culture and heritage played the biggest role in this case with the number of 40 as the influence of the behavior. And for themes identified, we've seen a lot of students wanted to educate their friend when they came, or they would prepare them, or they just would invite them, period. Scenario 4 focuses on you hanging out with some friends and their behavior is making you feel uncomfortable. We've seen that environment play the biggest role with the number of 39 as it influenced their behavior. And for our themes identified, we've seen a lot of students wanted to avoid the situation or they would just go along with it. Scenario 5 focuses on a family member who points out a physical characteristic of a bi or multiracial individual that could be considered racist. And for this scenario, we kind of see all of the components played a role, with genetics being the highest. For our themes identified, we've seen a lot of the students wanted to address the comment, just kind of get an idea of why it was being said or ignore it, or also just joke about it. For discussion, this is an ongoing research project that is still collecting data. We're hoping to get students from Arizona, Alabama, Kentucky, and New York. It appears that out of 5 of the scenarios, we had 2 of them playing multiple roles and influence for their behavior choices. And these indicate that these components are not mutually exclusive and work together to influence their behavior. And overall, out of all of the components, environment played the biggest role with the number of 138, and this suggests that the external factors within the environment significantly influences these college students, whereas genetic is the least likely to play a role in their behavior. And across these scenarios, students relied on more than one component to make decisions, which tells us that bi or multiracial students don't just fit into one box, and they constantly balance different influences when they navigate their identity and choose a behavior. We are still continuing collecting data, and we're going to use our flyer with the QR code, and we want to plan to get PWIs, HBCUs, state and private universities, and colleges. And by the fall, we will run an EFA to assess the framework for confirmation on these 3 components. And then we plan to publish this research and add to the growing body of literature that relates to these individuals. Thank you for listening, and make sure to come stop by our poster.